friends. Just wanted to put out a quick video about this Alex Jones clownery. So you can see here, I've got him freaking out. And then there's this other image. Alex Jones, pressure Alex Jones to block Alex Jones. And your mind is blown. You're totally woke. Anyway, guys, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I want to cover that, and I want to also talk a little bit about politics, and probably not in the way you think. I'm considering titling this video in a very edgy way. Maybe it'll get some attention, but I really just want you guys to listen, hear me out, because I'm seeing something happening over and over and over in the quote-unquote anarchy movement. But I'll get into that a little bit later. I just, I wanted to let you guys know that over the weekend, we missed something Saturday, and it got covered up by this whole Alex Jones nonsense. Venezuela's President Maduro, there was a drone attack, and there were some arrests there in Venezuela. Some explosives were were strapped to the drone, and it was flown in. Here, I'll just have a listen to this.
This a live broadcast of the ceremony on national television. The camera begins to shake, and President Maduro looks into the air. Alongside his wife, Celia flinches as explosions sound before the feed is cut. Soldiers who had been on parade are seen fleeing in panic. A number reported to be injured in the blasts.
Our early investigation has evidence that shows there was an attempt on the constitutional figure of the Venezuelan Republic, Nicolas Maduro.
A group calling itself Los Soldados de Frenelas claimed responsibility in a series of tweets. This one with the phrase, "Time is running out." A few hours after the attack, President Maduro addressed the nation, saying right-wing groups within the country were responsible, but also accusing the Colombian president, Juan Manuel Santos, of involvement.
I have to inform you that some of those who carried out the attack against me today have already been apprehended, and they are now being processed. They tried to assassinate me, and I have no doubt that everything points to the right, the Venezuelan ultra-right, in alliance with the Colombian ultra-right, and that the name of Juan Manuel Santos is behind this attempt.
President Maduro claimed victory in elections earlier this year, though his political opponents insisted the process was rigged. Many Venezuelans hold him accountable for a major economic collapse that could see the inflation rate hit 1 million% by the end of the year. Mike Hanna, Al Jazeera. This alive.
Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I don't know much about Maduro. You know, he just seems to me to be like one of those puppets that, like, kind of like Saddam and to an extent Castro, that are installed, and then when they go past their expiration date as far as being useful, the assassination attempts begin. I had an article here. Where is it? That's not it. Oops, I closed the window. Oops. Okay, where is it? Okay, so Castro. I mean, these are actually real assassination attempts on this guy. And they claim that it's like something like 634 attempts. And I don't know if all of those are from the CIA, but I know at least it's been about 80 times that the CIA has tried to kill Castro and completely botched it. And this Venezuelan thing, it just has all those hallmarks. I mean, come on. I mean, this is like spy versus spy, back in, remember Mad Magazine, that comic that was in there, the little comic. It just, it's so ridiculous. It reminds me of this. It's kind of like that. A couple years ago, there was a Mormon missionary that was detained in Venezuela, and I think he was just released this year. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the police planted the evidence on him, but he had several IDs on him. He had an AK-47, an AR-15, and a freaking grenade. A Mormon missionary. If the police hadn't planted this evidence, I mean, that's always a possibility. We know how corrupt police are and how screwed up that gets. But, I mean, if it's true, I mean, think about that. Like, why would a Mormon missionary have a grenade? It's almost comical. But anyway, back to Venezuela. There's something called the Monroe Doctrine, and it's still in effect today. It's still American policy, especially with Trump. Around this time last year, he was talking about invasion of Venezuela. Not a lot of people know that. Just to get rid of this Maduro guy, to get rid of him. They really want him out of there. He's like the Saddam of South America. And it just so happens that Venezuela is sitting on the world's second biggest oil reserves, like ever. Like, it's like Saudi Arabia and then it's Venezuela. And so the Monroe Doctrine came about in, I think it's like 1823, December or something, with Monroe's yearly address to Congress. Basically, the Monroe Doctrine states, in a nutshell, all you European interests get the hell out of our hemisphere. That's basically what it says. Any kind of colonization by Europe would be seen as aggression against the United States. Now, here's the thing about that time period. Following the American Revolution, which, one could say that's completely scripted too. Just look into the false flag of the Boston Massacre. I mean, just look into that. But anyway, at that time, there were a lot of Latin American countries declaring their independence from European powers. And then, fast forward almost a century to 1904, I believe. And then you had Teddy Roosevelt. He kind of renewed the Monroe Doctrine with his corollary. Is that? It's a corollary. That's it. I think that's corollary. Anyway, basically he renewed it after England, Germany, and Italy blockaded Venezuelan ports because guess what? They had defaulted on their loans. Weird. Okay, so Roosevelt comes up with this corollary, which is like an amendment to the Monroe document, or a renewal to the Monroe document, basically establishing the United States as the world's police, at least in the Western Hemisphere. So since that time, by the end of the 20th century, the United States had invaded, not just intervened, but invaded South American and Latin American countries 35 times. 35 times. So that, the corollary happened in 1904, 1903. So I know the first Venezuelan crisis happened around 2003, or not 1903, 1902. Anyway, I mean, we're coming up on 2023, and that's a whole 2 centuries of United States primacy and imperialism in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, that's a long time. So you have Venezuela. and I don't know anything about this Maduro guy. I know that what happened to Venezuela was partially the fault of Saudi Arabia, and I believe that it was like fallout from Venezuela. I'm going to look for that where it's okay. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Basically what happened was Saudi Arabia was trying to undermine fracking in the United States. Because here's the thing about fracking. It takes $60 a barrel to produce oil from fracking. So, Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, can produce a barrel of oil for $7. So Saudi Arabia is like, well, let's get this out of here because we want everybody dependent on our oil. We have the largest reserves. So they produced a surplus. And not only did that affect the United States fracking, but it also had a profound effect on Iran's economy, especially with their dealings with Russia. And, of course, Venezuela. And so when this happened to Venezuela, they began to default on their loans from the World Bank. And so what does any nation in debt start to do? They start printing money. And that's what happened in Venezuela. That's the cause of the hyperinflation. It all goes back to Saudi Arabia and their basically their economic terrorism on the rest of the world, because they want to keep countries under their thumb, I mean, this is Saudi Arabia we're talking about. It's a dictatorship. I mean, you've got a royal family that dictates oil production. Come on, guys. So anyway, this is all the stuff we missed in the midst of this. And here's where I circle back around. You've got Alex Jones, who is, I mean, he's a Jesuit, guys. He's a Jesuit. He never speaks ill of Zionism. He supports Israel and the Zionist agenda there. I'm certainly not somebody who is a Jew hater. I mean, I have a cousin who's half Jewish, and I know a lot of Jewish people, and they're completely innocent of this stuff. This is Zionism. It's like Zionism is their equivalent to white supremacy. Or white nationalism, I should say. Anyway, without getting too far into that, we see this very interesting political situation evolving from this Alex Jones staged event. I mean, not only does it cover up what's happening in Venezuela, and that's like par for the course. I mean, it's business as usual for the economic hitmen resulting from this Monroe Doctrine that the United States is some kind of savior of or owner of the entire world now. It's not just the Western Hemisphere, it's the entire world. So, the Alex Jones gets banned. What are we seeing here? We're seeing people on the left defending the ideals of free market capitalism, saying that private companies have, I'm sorry for laughing at this, but private companies have the right to ban anybody who they wish from their platforms. And as I said in a video yesterday, basically this is absurd because these aren't private companies. I mean, I have a private company, and we don't get any special benefits. These are corporations who have been, blessed by the scepter of government to do business. And through that partnership with the government, and being funded in part by seed funding came from what is the CIA's investment division? I forgot what they're called. I think it's Incutel, but I might be wrong. Anyway, you got Facebook, you got Google, all these guys are seeded, given seed money by the Defense Department. Now I don't know about Apple. I'm actually, I'm disappointed that they're even involved in this. I mean, it's just like, come on, Apple, what the heck? But I know the history of Facebook and Google, and these are definitely not private organic companies that have built themselves up on customer service and providing a good product. It's not that way at all. Nope, not at all. So for these people on the left in their tribalistic view to support the ideas of free market, freedom of association is just bupkis. It's bogus, and it's so hilarious. And then you have these other chuckleheads on the right who are completely abandoning their principles of free market association by demanding socialistic intervention in the market. And this kind of brings me to my point. You see how people are manipulated so easily when they're not awake and aware. They don't understand that public relations engineers consent. They have no understanding of this at all, and they have no reason to. And the reason why I say that they have no reason to, is that the truth has not been shown to them. And this is where I'm kind of getting at how anarchy is dead. And I'm just gonna come out and say it. It's dead. I'm not saying that the ideals of anarchy are dead. I'm still 100% in line with anarchy. But anarchy is just another political side. It's another political faction that they can A, manipulate, and B, manipulate others against it. What they can't do, however, is they cannot manipulate the truth. They can only try to hide it. And this is why, from this point on, I am a truth seeker first. I'm not going to get involved in matters of politics, including the absence of government intervention in the lives of people. Because right now, that's a losing battle. It's losing. We've seen it over and over and over again. Ever since the 2016 election, this guy right here, this Pied Piper, he and Stefan Molyneux and Lauren Southern and many of the others, I can't sit here and mention, I can't think of anybody else. So these are the three. They were Pied Pipers, and they drew people away from the truth. And the truth is that we have to show people how governments are harmful again. And it's not just governments. It's these interests that have embedded themselves in power. And we have to become truth seekers instead of anarchists. I hope that you'll take this message to heart, because I'm kind of getting choked up a little, because I'm really sick of sitting on the sidelines and thinking to myself, these are the things that's wrong. This is what I see that's wrong, that's going wrong. We're fighting a political fight when the solution isn't political. The solution is the light of truth. It's the light of God. It's the light of the divine. And the closer you get to that, the closer you get to the truth. And I don't know. I hope you'll consider my words. Have a blessed day.